Welcome to Puma News. I'm Nicole Bledsoe.
And I'm Jordan Chu. In this episode, we'll be covering the hotly debated issue of guns in schools. But first, let's start off with some important dates and announcements.
Spring break is from March 27th to March 30th. School will be back in session on April 2nd.
Prom is on Friday, April 20th at the Bentley Reserve. Tickets will be available from April 9th until April 13th for $90, and from April 16th to April 19th for $100. Remember, don't forget to serve your tardy school hours, otherwise we cannot sell you tickets.
Kevin is joining us now at City Hall, where SFUSD students have gathered to protest recent school shootings and gun violence incidents in America.
Hello, I'm in front of City Hall, where the protest against gun violence is happening. Let's go take a look.
It should change. There should be more regulation. I know in California the laws are more stricter than other places, but there should still be more regulation for other states and not only for us.
I feel like that it's just we should there's gonna be always a way to get a gun. It's really easy to get a gun, and even with laws, there's always gonna be some way to get a gun. So I don't think so we could just ban guns or something. That's not gonna help anything.
I feel like I know gun laws are gonna be hard to address more because of the NRA donating a bunch of money to like Congress and like president or whatever, but I feel like they should act now, knowing there's been like hundreds of school shootings.
I think that national security definitely trumps private security, and I think that if having stricter gun laws and having better gun control will help have us be safer as a community and as a nation, I think that it's better than to have private security.
I feel like we might be the only people who can make a difference because we're the future. We are the future of the country.
I strongly agree with him, but then again, sometimes I feel like we go unheard because we are kids, and I think that's unfair.
Well, as youth, we're the future generation, so I believe that what we're able to change the laws of our society.
And back to you.
Thanks, Kevin. Today we invited faculty and staff to have an important discussion on how safe students feel at school in relation to gun violence. Hello, today we're doing a Burton broadcast panel about the recent gun violence and on-campus shootings. Today we're joined by several panelists, me and myself, Jordan Chu, I'm a moderator.
And so am I, Nicole Bledsoe.
And we're joined by several panelists from the staff and faculty. If we could go down the line, say who we are and what we do here at Burton.
I'm Mr. Coatzen. I teach U.S. History and AP U.S. History.
My name is Ms. Butler. I'm a case manager for truancy.
My name is Patrick, and I am the wellness coordinator.
All right, and we're going to start with the first question. Do you think guns are necessary to keep the school safe? And we could do this popcorn style if you want to, who's ready to answer.
I don't think it's necessary for guns to be in schools. I think there's other ways to be trained to help students deal with their issues, such as this school has a lot of resources and a lot of adults that care and are always here to talk to students, and also we get a lot of trainings around working with students, so guns are not necessary.
Yeah, I think the math on more guns equals less violence and problems is bad math. I think less guns equal less problems. No, I don't want guns at schools to keep them safe.
Okay. If teachers were mandated to have guns on campus, would it be safe for environment?
I don't think it would be safer physically or emotionally. I think the stress of students and staff to kind of know that there are that many guns on campus would just be really stressful and could lead to a lot of conflicts.
I think Patrick brings up a good point, speaking about the internal aspects. Two external aspects to look at. I'm concerned with more guns, there's more of a chance of a mistake or a problem happening. Both people getting their hands on guns who aren't supposed to have it, and also high emotion, stress, guns in a room. I think the gun statistics say that most murders happen between family members. I don't want small heated things at school to turn into big violent confrontations.
And then also, I think too that we deal with a lot of students who come from trauma. So, being that they come from neighborhoods or their environments are already unsafe, this is a place where it should be safe at all times. So, bringing guns into the school, especially having teachers have guns, would probably make students feel unsafe and not feel like they have a safe environment to learn.
How successful do you think that the lockdown drill on March 6th was in terms of preparing the students and faculty for the case of an active shooter on campus?
I think it's always great to practice. I don't know how successful it will be in a real situation, but I think it's one step better than being completely unprepared.
Yeah, I think I've been in a few schools and I've seen lockdown drills done different ways, and I think that the way Burton did it with explicitly teaching students kind of what to expect, and then naming that sometimes you might have to run or hide or fight, I think is definitely a step in the right direction, away from just the lock the door and think that everything's going to be okay.
I also think that it was a great experience. I've never worked in a school environment before, and then being that there's so many shootings happening in high schools and all across the world, I think that it's important that we prepare ourselves, even if it's not done perfectly. It's just to mentally prepare ourselves for situations that may occur.
What did you learn about the school's response to the lockdown drill?
I thought we took our first step in getting ready for a during class time active shooter situation. I would love to see other situations. What if it happens at lunch? What if it happens after school?
So you think overall, in the long term, do you think that the lockdown drills are effective to preparing students?
Absolutely. I think, again, we have to think about the times that we're living in, and the social media and phones, and just being prepared for students and teenagers. They sometimes tend to be a little bit more let's say overwhelmed, or pay attention to their cell phones more. So I think that having trainings behind something like realistic, something that can actually happen on the spot, is important.
What additional steps do we have to do while there's an active shooting?
I think in addition to the lockdown drills, having a more clear debrief on kind of how the drill went. Especially, I tried to host something in wellness, but there wasn't much turnout from students, but I do know that the lockdown drill and the lesson brought up a lot of questions for students. So I think, naming that stressor and that there's gun violence that's happening throughout the nation in schools, but there's also gun violence happening in neighborhoods and in communities, and that sometimes gets portrayed differently in the media, and kind of how do we support students around all types of gun violence.
And then final question for today, should there be more restrictions or on access to guns, in your opinion?
Of course. Yes, because it's a lot of people that have been the shootings that have been occurring. It's been a lot of signs of it before it happens, so like mental illness or depression or anxiety. So I think that if we are more aware of those issues and being able to identify people who have those issues, we can probably do a little bit better with them having access to guns.
I would also add to that it's a great first step, limiting access to guns. And I think it should definitely be done. I agree with you. I also think we should look at the types of guns that are allowed in our society and see if there's a role for them.
Yeah, I totally think there should be more restrictions on types of guns available, how the guns are available. Mr. Coates may need to correct me on the Second Amendment, but I believe it says something about a well-regulated militia.
That's right.
And I don't think that aspect of the Second Amendment is acknowledged as much, because I don't think that the amount of people who have access to guns are well regulated.
All right, so that's all we have time for today. I want to thank me and Nurka would like to thank all the panelists for coming out here today and speaking their opinions on the gun violence issues. If you have any other further questions or want to discuss about these types of issues, I think we all encourage open discussion about gun violence and on-campus shootings, and looking for a solution towards the near future. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks again to all the participants of the panel.
You guys are great. Remember, Bert and Puma, stay safe and have a fantastic spring break.
This is Jordan Chu
And Nurka Bledsoe,
signing out.